Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take complex ideas, really dig into them, and try to bring out the insights that you can use fast.
That's the goal. Make it accessible but deep.
Exactly. And today, we're plunging into the mind of a philosopher from the 19th century, Friedrich Nietzsche, who issued this really stark warning. It still feels incredibly relevant, almost unsettlingly powerful today.
It really does.
Yeah, I mean, what if I told you that the life you're living, the very foundation of it, the beliefs guiding your choices, the goals you're chasing, what if they aren't actually yours? That you've maybe just been shaped by stories, by rules, by systems you've picked up along the way, without ever really stopping to question them.
It's a chilling thought, isn't it? It goes right to the core of our sense of self.
Why do you think that idea hits so hard? What makes it so unsettling for people?
Well, I think it's unsettling precisely because it threatens our sense of autonomy, our feeling that we're in control. So many of us, we kind of navigate the world on these default settings.
Default settings, I like that.
Yeah, we inherit these invisible frameworks, could be cultural norms, what our family expects, society's picture of success or morality. And these things subtly but powerfully, they dictate how we see things, the decisions we make.
Right.
And we often don't even realize they're just constructs, not essential truths until something challenges them. And Nietzsche, he saw this deep-seated tendency we have to lean on external validation, on prescribed meaning.
That's such a crucial distinction. It's not just about the big societal things, is it? It's the small stuff, too. The everyday assumptions we absorb about what's right or good or even possible, what makes us happy.
Absolutely, the micro-level assumptions.
And that's exactly what Friedrich Nietzsche, our focus today, was really warning us about. He wasn't just some academic philosopher locked away somewhere. He was a truly radical figure for the 19th century.
Oh, definitely.
He came up during this time of huge change, massive scientific leaps, industrial revolution shaking everything up, and this growing doubt about traditional religious authority.
A real turning point in history.
And he didn't just critique the ideas floating around then. He launched this fundamental challenge straight at the self. He urged everyone to turn that critical eye inward, to really scrutinize the foundations of our own being, our own values.
It's fascinating, that inward turn, because most thinkers who want change, they look at systems, right? Institutions, politics. What was it about him, do you think? His perspective, maybe his own life, that made him insist transformation had to start with the individual self before any external change could really stick?
That's a really sharp question. I think Nietzsche was just acutely aware of how deeply humans need meaning and structure. He saw that when the traditional sources like religion started to weaken, people would just grasp onto anything to fill that void, any new ideology, any group identity.
To avoid the emptiness.
Exactly. He foresaw how easily individuals would just adopt new truths or follow new crowds if they weren't strong enough inside to create their own meaning. So his focus wasn't on giving people a new set of rules, a new system to follow.
No, not at all.
It was more about empowering the individual to first really examine what is, look closely at the values they've inherited, and then find the courage to create what should be, but just for themselves.
A method for self-creation almost.
Yeah, not a new dogma. It was a pathway for radical self-discovery, self-transformation. He believed real strength, authentic meaning, it wasn't found by just fitting into some external system, but by cultivating your own inner authority.
Indeed. He saw so many people living lives dictated by, handed-down values, societal pressures, this sort of collective morality, rather than from a place of genuine self-authorship, like they were reading from someone else's script. And he believed this passive acceptance, just going along, it led to mediocrity, to a kind of diminished human spirit. His rebellion was against that intellectual complacency, that spiritual passivity. He wanted to wake individuals up to the, often uncomfortable freedom and responsibility of creating yourself.
Which feels more relevant than ever now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why his work still hits home today. In this age where we're just bombarded with information, with external narratives telling us who to be, it's so easy to lose yourself.
And that really is our mission today in this deep dive. We want to explore how Nietzsche's philosophy gives you, our listener, a really powerful framework to, rebuild your life from the inside out.
Rebuild, yeah, not just tweak.
Think of this as a kind of shortcut, not to skip the depth of his ideas, but to grasp these potentially life-changing concepts and see how you can apply them directly to your life. Right now.
We want to unpack the ideas, make them practical, not just academic, move them from the bookshelf into, into your mindset.
It's about finding the tools for practical, personal revolution. A deep dive into self-liberation, really.
Exactly. We aim to distill the essence of his ideas, which can seem complex, maybe even a bit intimidating at first glance.
Definitely misunderstood sometimes.
Often misunderstood. But we want to show you how his core messages, these provocative statements, are actually incredibly liberating once you get them. They're like invitations to greater self-awareness, personal power, and ultimately profound freedom.
Okay, let's start unpacking. Our deep dive begins with Nietzsche, the rebel philosopher. So he lived 1844 to 1900, a really pivotal time in Europe.
Hugely pivotal.
You had Darwin's theories challenging humanity's special place, industrialization turning society upside down, and this rising tide of secularism questioning the very foundations of faith. So how did he, coming out of that specific moment, become such a disruptive figure? What made him dare to question the really fundamental stuff in a way others weren't?
That's the key question. He wasn't just observing the changes. He seemed to grasp their deep, unsettling implications for the human psyche, for meaning itself, while others might have been trying to, say, patch up the old systems or maybe replace them with new, equally rigid ones.
Right, just swap one set of rules for another.
Exactly. Nietzsche saw this moment as an opportunity for a radical reevaluation of all values. He was actually trained as a philologist, studying classical languages and texts, especially Greek thought.
Ah, interesting.
And that gave him this unique perspective, this long view on Western civilization's development. So he wasn't just reacting to the decline of religion. He was trying to diagnose the underlying psychological and cultural forces that had shaped those beliefs in the first place. And he was predicting the huge void their collapse would leave.
So the radicalism came from his willingness to just dismantle things, not just criticize them.
Yes, to unflinchingly dismantle the very foundations of morality and truth as they'd been understood for centuries. He threw out the whole idea that there were these universal truths or moral systems just waiting out there to be discovered. Instead, he proposed that many of our so-called truths were actually human constructs, often born out of, psychological needs, maybe fear, maybe resentment, maybe what he called a herd mentality.
Wanting to belong, wanting safety in numbers.
Precisely. And that ties into his core challenge, as you said earlier. It wasn't just aimed at the world, at society. It was profoundly aimed at the self.
Yeah, we often see philosophers taking aim at structures, politics, knowledge systems. But Nietzsche turns that intense focus inward. He insists that real transformation, genuine progress, it has to start with the individual doing this rigorous self-examination.
Yeah.
That sounds like a massive undertaking.
It is.
Is there a risk, though?
Yeah.
A risk of just getting lost in your own head, endless navel-gazing instead of actually changing anything.
That's a really important point, and it's something Nietzsche himself was very aware of. His call for self-examination wasn't meant to be passive contemplation. It was supposed to be rigorous, maybe even painful sometimes, but designed to lead directly to action.
Action, okay.
To the creation of values, not just thinking about them. He felt that just understanding yourself without acting on that understanding was basically pointless. It had to translate into how you lived.
Yeah, makes sense.
And this focus on individual transformation makes his work feel so incredibly relevant today. In our world of constant noise, social media validation, external pressures, Nietzsche's insistence on finding your internal authenticity, on cultivating that inner authority, it's such a powerful counter-message.
A counter-narrative, yeah.
He argued that real strength, real meaning, they don't come from just following external rules or fitting in. They come from the individual's capacity to forge their own values, their own meaning, to basically author their own life.
To write your own script.
Exactly. He believed that was the only path to genuine flourishing, to a life lived with deep integrity, not just superficial conformity.
He really did just blow the doors off conventional thinking, didn't he? His methods, his style, that provocative tone, his conclusions, they were all deeply unsettling to the establishment back then.
Deliberately so, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to make people feel comfortable. He was trying to jolt them awake. And the shock waves, the impact of his ideas on everything that came after, psychology, art, existentialism, postmodern thought, it's just colossal. He left this permanent mark by forcing us to question everything we thought we knew about morality, truth, the human condition itself.
And that profound questioning, that need to wake people up, it brings us right to maybe his most famous and certainly his most frequently misunderstood statement, God is dead.
Ah, yes, the big one.
The big one. Now, if you just hear that phrase cold, it sounds incredibly provocative, maybe offensive, even blasphemous to some ears. But as our source material points out, his intention was not to offend, but to wake us up.
Right. It wasn't meant as a simple statement of atheism, was it?
Not at all. This wasn't a literal theological declaration about whether a deity exists or not, the way a modern atheist might just dismiss the idea of God. It was operating on a much deeper cultural and psychological level.
Okay, so unpack that.
Yeah.
When Nietzsche declared God is dead, what did he really mean in that broader sense?
He meant that the entire system of traditional religious and moral frameworks, the ones that had provided meaning, structure, absolute values for Western civilization for centuries, was in irreversible decline. The belief in a transcendent divine order that gave life meaning and handed down moral codes. That belief was losing its vital grip on the collective imagination, on society's functioning.
So the foundation was crumbling.
Precisely. This wasn't just an observation for him, it was a diagnosis of a profound crisis unfolding.
A crisis of meaning.
Yes. For centuries, humanity had looked outward, relied on these external sources, divine commandments, rigid social roles, universally accepted moral laws for everything, for validation, purpose, their core values. They were the pillars holding up the sense of an ordered, meaningful existence.
Giving life a map, a compass.
Exactly. And Nietzsche argued this reliance had actually made humanity somewhat passive, maybe even, in his terms, sheep-like, just following these preset paths. So the death of God wasn't just about losing faith. It was about the collapse of the entire system that had provided objective meaning and a morality from the outside.
And that leaves, what? A void.
A profound, echoing void. It wasn't just an absence. It was the removal of the very structure that gave life shape and direction for so many.
It's like you suddenly realize the ground beneath your feet isn't solid anymore. You're just floating, untethered. What happens when those pillars, those things you never even thought to question about reality and morality, just vanish? It must leave people feeling lost, uncertain, vulnerable.
Absolutely vulnerable. It creates this huge vacuum. And without those external anchors, the individual is suddenly face to face with this overwhelming, but also maybe exhilarating task, finding meaning, establishing values completely on their own.
The security blanket is gone.
Well, the security is gone, but potentially so are the constraints. Nietzsche saw a world where people, unable or unwilling to create their own values, would just desperately latch onto anything new that offered some external validation.
Like new ideologies.
Political ideologies, nationalism, consumerism, even just the comfort of the herd mentality he was always critiquing, just blending in. He wasn't just saying God was dead passively. He argued that we, humanity, had killed him through our relentless pursuit of scientific reason, our growing skepticism.
We did it to ourselves.
We did it to ourselves, and this act, while potentially liberating, also meant we absolutely had to face the consequences of that newfound, terrifying freedom.
Which leads us right to the critical consequence, the huge new responsibility that Nietzsche just lays bare. You are now responsible for creating your own values.
Boom! There it is.
That's a monumental shift, isn't it? It puts the whole burden of making meaning squarely onto the individual. No more waiting for the world or God or society to tell you what's true or validate you. No more relying on inherited truths. It's on you. You have to define your truth.
It sounds terrifying to some, I'm sure.
And incredibly liberating to others, maybe.
It's absolutely both. The liberation is immense. You're freed from the weight of external expectations, from beliefs that might not fit who you authentically are. But the daunting part is the sheer scale of that freedom. There's no instruction manual anymore, no absolute guide handed down.
You're off the map.
Completely off the map. It means you can't just look outside yourself anymore for what's good or true or valuable. This is the radical call for self-authorship. It challenges us to look inward, to really understand our deepest drives, our core desires, and from that authentic place, consciously choose the principles we live by.
And this isn't just abstract philosophy, is it? It touches every choice we make.
Every single one.
So let's make this concrete for you, the listener. Think about it. What inherited beliefs or societal expectations might you be living by right now, maybe without even realizing it, instead of ones you've actively, consciously chosen?
Yeah, good question.
Is the career path you're on the one you truly desire? Or is it the one that maybe your parents expected, or the one society labels successful, even if it leaves you feeling, I don't know, empty or misaligned?
Or your relationships. Are they shaped by conventional roles, maybe outdated ideas about partnership, rather than what genuinely works for you and the other person?
What about your personal goals? Are they just echoes of what you see others achieving on social media, or do they spring from something deep and authentic inside you? The call here is so clear. Define your truth.
It really is. And practically speaking, okay, in your career, this might mean asking, is chasing this promotion really about my growth and purpose, or is it just hitting an external benchmark?
Does this work energize me, or does it just drain me? Am I building something I actually believe in?
Exactly. In relationships, it could mean stepping away from the shoulds, what a partnership should look like, and actually forging one based on mutual respect, real autonomy, shared growth, even if it looks unconventional to the outside world. And for personal goals, it means digging deeper than just, lose weight or make more money. Why? What genuinely motivates you? What brings you that sense of vitality, of purpose? It's about consciously picking your values and then building a life that's a vibrant, authentic expression of those values, not just a faded copy of someone else's expectations.
Okay, so if the old maps are gone, the old rules are dissolving, and we're facing this wide open sea of freedom, where do we find the compass now? What's the internal engine? What fundamental drive does Nietzsche say actually propels us forward in this new self-made landscape?
Now we get to it.
That brings us right to one of his most profound and, probably most misunderstood ideas, the will to power.
Definitely misunderstood.
Yeah, for so many people, that phrase just instantly conjures up images of domination, aggression, political tyranny.
Power over others, control.
But Nietzsche was very clear, wasn't he? This is not about dominating other people. It's something else entirely, an inner drive.
Precisely. It is absolutely crucial to clear up that common misconception right away. The will to power for Nietzsche isn't about crushing opponents or hoarding external power in that crude political way. Not at all.
So what is it?
He defined it as this fundamental, innate urge within all living things, not just for survival, but for something more, for thriving, building, influencing, creating.
Okay, thriving, building, creating.
It's an internal energy, a drive for growth, for mastery, and importantly, for self-overcoming, pushing your own limits. It's this intrinsic desire we have to actualize our potential, to express ourselves fully, to exert our strength and capabilities onto the world.
So self-overcoming is key there. Pushing past your own limitations, not just external obstacles.
Exactly. It's about expanding your sphere of influence, yes, but not through force. It's through the sheer vitality of your being, the strength you cultivate within yourself. And he saw this will constantly at play everywhere in human life.
Can you give some examples? Where do we see this?
Think about an artist, maybe a painter. They're striving not just to copy reality, but to master their craft, to express a unique vision, maybe even push the boundaries of what painting is. That relentless drive to improve, to create something new, that's the will to power.
Okay. Or maybe a scientist.
Or a scientist, absolutely. Relentlessly pursuing knowledge, driven to solve a complex problem, to expand our collective understanding of the universe. It's not just curiosity, it's a drive to impose order on chaos, to gain mastery through understanding. That's an expression of this will.
You've really nailed the core of it there. It's that fundamental drive to become more, to overcome resistance within yourself, resistance in the world, and to leave your unique mark, to affirm your existence through growth and creation.
Imagine a musician, maybe someone already technically brilliant, but they spend hours practicing, refining just one tiny phrase. Why? Not because someone is making them, but because they feel this inner compulsion to push the limits of their own expression, to bring something more perfect, more them into existence. That's the will to power as an artistic force.
Yeah.
Or think about someone recovering from a serious illness or injury. Their will to power isn't about dominating anyone. It's about reclaiming their body, reestablishing their autonomy, maybe finding a new, even stronger definition of health for themselves. It's an assertion of life, a pushing back against limitation, even in the face of immense physical or emotional struggle.
So it's this fundamental urge to create, to assert, to expand your capabilities, your sphere of influence, but through genuine self-mastery, through becoming stronger, more capable, more yourself.
Yes, exactly. For Nietzsche, even the drive for truth, the desire for knowledge, was ultimately an expression of the will to power. Because seeking truth is a way to overcome ignorance, to gain a kind of mastery over reality by understanding it, by being able to shape it through that understanding.
It's the energy that makes an inventor see a problem and feel compelled to create a solution, maybe not just for money, but for the sheer act of building something, of influencing the world. It's this deep desire to organize, to grow, to intensify life itself.
And understanding this concept is incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
Because it means that whatever your struggle is right now, whatever challenge you're facing, the advice isn't to shrink away from it.
No.
That's the imperative. Don't shrink. Don't pull back into your comfort zone. Don't retreat into feeling sorry for yourself. Instead, the call is step into your power, own your evolution. Use the struggle itself as fuel.
So for you, listening right now, where might you be holding back? Where are you shrinking in your own life? Is there a difficult conversation you keep putting off, letting some conflict just simmer?
Or maybe a new skill you're hesitant to tackle. Afraid of looking foolish, afraid of failure.
Is there a creative project sitting on the shelf, silenced by your inner critic, preventing your unique voice from getting out there?
How can you, right now, consciously choose to step into your power in those areas, in your daily interactions, in your work, in your relationships? How can you actively channel that intrinsic drive to grow, to master, instead of letting inertia or self-doubt hold you back?
It reframes challenges completely, doesn't it? They're not just obstacles to get around. They become opportunities to actually express this fundamental drive for growth, for self-overcoming.
It's about choosing to engage with resistance actively rather than running from it. Because it's through that struggle, through that engagement, that you actually expand your capacities, you actualize more of your potential. And this isn't just about finding a sudden burst of motivation.
Oh, it's deeper.
It's about cultivating a sustained internal engine that keeps propelling you forward even when things get tough. It's realizing profoundly that your struggles aren't just roadblocks, they're the raw material you use to forge your stronger, greater self.
Okay, so building on that, stepping into your power, cultivating that unique drive. Let's move to Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, often translated as overman, sometimes Superman.
And that translation causes problems.
Big problems. This term has been widely misinterpreted, sometimes in really damaging ways, especially historically. So let's be absolutely crystal clear right from the start. The Übermensch is not a superhero, not in the comic book sense, no capes, no flying.
Definitely no capes. No, it's far more profound, far more personal than that. The Übermensch, for Nietzsche, is essentially the version of you that doesn't just follow the crowd.
Yeah.
It's the individual who dares to be original, who dares to create their own values, moving beyond conventional, inherited morality.
So beyond just good and evil as defined by society.
Exactly. But crucially, this isn't about being amoral or just selfishly doing whatever you want. It's about forging a new, potentially higher morality, one based on strength, creativity, and a powerful affirmation of life itself, rather than one driven by what Nietzsche saw as weaker impulses like resentment, fear, or just wanting to fit in the herd morality.
So the Übermensch is an ideal of self-mastery, self-creation, someone who transcends that herd mentality and consciously designs their own existence, their own meaning.
That's it, precisely. It's an ideal we strive towards.
Wow. That is a huge challenge to conformity, isn't it? To all the societal pressures we feel every day. Because society, almost by its nature, rewards fitting in. It likes predictability. It likes adherence to the norms. It doesn't always like people who stand out too much.
It often actively discourages standing out.
So it must take immense courage to actually forge your own path like that, to express your true individuality when the world is constantly, subtly or not so subtly, pushing you to conform, punishing divergence.
Absolutely. And the courage required here isn't necessarily physical bravery. It's more like intellectual and spiritual courage. Fortitude.
The courage to question things everyone else takes for granted.
Yes, the courage to question deeply ingrained beliefs, even your own. The courage to face the potential loneliness or misunderstanding that comes with being different. And the courage to bear that profound responsibility of actually creating your own values, not just adopting them ready-made.
It's a heavy lift.
It is. Nietzsche saw the Übermensch as a kind of bridge to a potentially greater form of humanity. It's a call for individuals to wake up and fully realize their potential by embracing what makes them unique, their perspectives, their talents, their deepest desires. It's having the inner strength to say a powerful yes to your own unique essence, even if that means saying no to widely accepted truths or social expectations that don't serve you, or maybe don't serve humanity's higher potential anymore.
Moving beyond just reacting to the world.
To actively shaping your inner world, and through that, your outer world, too.
So this is a really direct message to you, listening right now. You don't have to fit in. Maybe you're actually meant to stand out.
Think about that. Really let it sink in.
You don't have to twist yourself into shapes that don't feel right just to fit into some predefined box. You don't have to echo opinions you don't really believe or walk down paths that feel like they're dimming your own inner light.
Consider people, maybe throughout history, maybe even people you know or see today, who seem to embody this spirit. The innovators who dared to challenge the established scientific thinking of their time, not just to be difficult, but because their unique insight genuinely saw a new possibility.
Or artists who just ignored the current fashions.
Yes. Ignored the prevailing tastes to create something completely new, shocking even, paving the way for whole new movements. They weren't usually chasing fame. They were driven by this internal need to bring something original into the world.
Or even social reformers, people who stood up against massive pressure, ridicule, maybe even danger.
Because they were absolutely convinced that certain norms were unjust, that things had to change. These individuals weren't primarily seeking external approval. They were driven by an internal imperative to live authentically, to express their unique vision, regardless of what the mainstream thought.
Okay, so for you, our listener, maybe take a moment to think. Where might you be conforming? Just out of habit? Or maybe out of fear?
Is it small things, like how you dress? Do you stifle your personal style just to blend in?
Or maybe bigger things, how you express your opinions in meetings or groups. Do you hold back your real thoughts to avoid ruffling feathers?
What about the kind of work you do? Does it feel deeply fulfilling, or is it just the safe, expected option, even if it leaves you cold?
How can you start to cultivate your own Übermensch qualities? How can you begin to embrace your unique perspectives, your specific talents, your authentic desires? How can you allow yourself to, stand out?
And again, it's not about being eccentric just for the sake of being different. That's not the point.
No, it's about authentic self-expression.
It's about building a life that genuinely reflects your highest potential, your truest self. It means consciously identifying where you might be suppressing your unique voice or tamping down your potential just to fit in, and then making deliberate choices, maybe small at first, to express that individuality more fully.
Could be in your hobbies, your creative outlets.
Could be in how you approach problems at work, offering a different perspective. Could even be in how you structure your personal time, your relationships, making them truly yours. It's this ongoing process, isn't it? A continuous striving towards a higher version of yourself that is uniquely you, not just a pale reflection of what everyone else is doing.
It's the courage to stand alone, if you have to, in order to be true to yourself.
That's the heart of it, the courage to serve your authentic truth.
Okay, so the Übermensch is about daring to be profoundly yourself, creating your own values from that authentic place. But Nietzsche pushes things even further, doesn't he? What if the very choices we make, the life we're so carefully trying to craft, what if it were destined to repeat? Not just once, but forever.
Ah, yes. He doesn't just ask us to live authentically. He gives us this incredibly potent thought experiment, maybe the ultimate test of that authenticity. Eternal recurrence.
Tell us about it. What's the thought experiment?
Okay, here it is. Imagine a demon were to creep into your loneliness one night and say to you, "This life, as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it. But every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life must return to you, all in the same succession and sequence."
Wow. Every single moment. Every joy, every pain, every thought, every tiny detail played out again and again, infinitely, exactly the same way.
Exactly the same way. An infinite loop of your precise existence. Now, it's really crucial to grasp, as Nietzsche intended, this is not meant as a literal prophecy. He wasn't predicting the cosmos would actually loop like this.
No, so what if?
It's a powerful what if, an ethical, existential challenge, a hypothetical designed to force the most radical self-evaluation imaginable. The implication is just profound. If every single moment, from the most mundane to the most ecstatic, from your greatest triumphs to your deepest regrets, were to be repeated infinitely, how would that change how you choose to live right now?
Would you embrace that idea? Or would you be crushed by it?
That's the core question it forces upon you. It puts your entire life, your entire way of being under this incredibly intense microscope.
The stark question it poses is, would that scare you or empower you? If you knew you had to relive this precise moment listening to this, feeling what you feel right now for all eternity, would you choose it? Would you affirm it?
It stops being just an interesting philosophical puzzle then, doesn't it? It becomes this immediate moral barometer for the authenticity, the quality, the sheer value of your life as you're living it.
It forces an extreme level of intentionality, doesn't it? A profound awareness of the weight and significance of every single moment.
Absolutely. Because if you wouldn't want to repeat a particular action or a habit or even just a state of mind for all eternity, then why are you doing it even once? Why tolerate it now? This thought experiment demolishes the idea that we can just get through certain parts of our lives hoping for better times ahead.
Because in eternal recurrence, there's no getting through.
There's only reliving. It forces you to confront the reality of this moment, this choice, and imbue it with ultimate significance. It asks you to affirm your life so completely, so wholeheartedly, that you would actually desire its eternal return, down to the very last detail, warts and all.
That's the ultimate test, isn't it? Are you truly loving your life, embracing it fully, or are you just enduring it, waiting for something else?
So the practical guidance that flows from this is incredibly clear. Let that question guide your actions. Before you make a choice, big or small, maybe just pause and ask yourself, will this moment, this decision, this way of being, to return again and again forever?
The imperative becomes, make your life something worth reliving.
Think about actually applying that day to day. Make it a filter. Would you repeat the specific interaction you just had with a colleague, maybe one where you were a bit checked out or passive, knowing it will happen exactly like that countless times? Or would you choose next time to infuse it with more presence, more genuine connection?
Would you repeat this hour you just spent scrolling mindlessly on your phone? Or would you choose an activity that truly nourishes your spirit, knowing that feeling could be eternal?
Would you repeat this level of effort, this attitude you brought to your work today? Or would you choose to bring more passion, more focus, more of your true self to it? It elevates every single choice, doesn't it? It transforms mundane moments into these potential points of profound affirmation, or maybe signals for radical reevaluation.
It really strips away the illusion that some moments don't matter, that we can just coast through the boring bits, because if recurrence is the frame, every moment matters infinitely.
It's an incredible tool for self-reflection, for decision-making. It pushes you towards intentional living, towards authenticity, towards trying to live a life without regret. Because if you truly embrace this idea, you're compelled to live each moment as if it's precious, as if it's the only version you'll ever get repeated forever. It's a relentless mirror, constantly reflecting the true quality of your choices.
And the ideal outcome is to live in such a way, with such integrity, such fullness, such affirmation of every single aspect of your existence,
that the very thought of its infinite repetition becomes not a source of dread, but a source of profound joy and empowerment. Living so that you could look back at any moment and shout, yes, again, encore.
Yes, again. What a standard to aim for.
Right.
But, okay, here's the really hard part. What about the parts of life that are genuinely awful? The pain, the struggle, the failures, the unavoidable hardships, the tragedies. How do we possibly integrate those into a life worth reliving eternally? How can anyone say yes, again, to profound suffering?
That is the crucial question, and it leads us directly to perhaps Nietzsche's most challenging but ultimately most liberating concept. Amor Fati.
Amor Fati, Latin for love of fate.
Love of fate. And this is where Nietzsche pushes beyond simple acceptance or resignation, which is how it's often misunderstood. People think it just means accept what happens.
And bear it.
Not quite. It's far more active, far more affirmative than that. Amor Fati is an active, passionate love for every part of it. And when Nietzsche says every part, he means everything. The pain, the joy, the lessons.
So it's not just enduring the bad stuff, it's actively embracing it. Seeing the pain not as something to be wished away or regretted, but as an essential, maybe even a desirable ingredient in your whole journey. That sounds incredibly radical, to actively love your suffering.
It is absolutely radical. And this act of love is what really distinguishes Nietzsche's Amor Fati from, say, the Stoic idea of accepting fate. Stoicism teaches us to accept what's beyond our control, to remain calm and unperturbed by external events, which is valuable in itself.
Yeah.
But Amor Fati goes so much further. It's not passive resignation, not just shrugging and saying, oh, well, that's how it is. It's the defiant, joyous yes to the totality of your existence. Nietzsche isn't advocating for quiet endurance. He's calling for a radical embrace of destiny, a passionate affirmation of everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen to you.
So looking back at your past mistakes, your failures, your heartbreaks, those moments of weakness or embarrassment, instead of wishing they were different, you actively will them to have happened exactly as they did.
Yes. You see them as indispensable, necessary ingredients that forged the unique, strong, complex person you are right now, or are in the process of becoming. It's the ultimate act of self-affirmation because it affirms the entirety of the process that created you. It's about learning to see how even the most bitter experiences contributed something essential, how they became fuel for your growth, for your ascent.
So if you face a huge setback, maybe you lose a job you loved or a business fails, the typical reaction is regret, anger, wishing it hadn't happened. Amor Fati would mean, what? Eventually coming to love that failure.
Eventually, yes. And maybe love sounds too strong initially, but it's about moving beyond mere tolerance or acceptance to a deep appreciation. Loving it, not because it felt good, it probably felt terrible, but loving it for the profound lessons it contained. Loving it for the unexpected redirection it forced in your life. Loving it for the hidden strengths, the resilience you discovered in yourself because of it.
Seeing it as necessary.
Seeing it as a necessary, integral part of the whole tapestry. Recognizing, as you implied, that you can't have the light without the shadow. You can't appreciate the peaks without having navigated the valleys.
Or maybe a painful breakup, a relationship ending that left you devastated, instead of just trying to forget it or wishing you could erase that whole chapter.
Amor Fati would encourage you over time to find a way to affirm that experience too. Maybe loving it for the depth of feeling it allowed you to experience, even the painful ones. Loving it for the insights it gave you about yourself, about relationships. Loving it for the growth it ultimately spurred in your character, making you perhaps wiser or more compassionate.
It's seeing every single event, good and bad, as just the raw material of your life. And it's your job to take all of it, the whole messy pile, and actively forge it into something meaningful, something you can affirm.
Exactly. Because the ultimate outcome, the promise of Amor Fati, is this. When you can genuinely embrace it, all the triumphs and the tragedies, the ease and the hardship, the soaring joys and the crushing despairs, you become, in a profound sense, unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
That's the power of Amor Fati, the love of fate. This philosophy can fundamentally shift your entire perspective on challenges. It fosters this deep, quiet resilience, an unshakable sense of self that isn't dependent on external circumstances being good. When you actively choose to affirm everything that has happened and will happen, you cease to be a victim of circumstance.
Take back your agency.
You become the conscious author of your own meaning. You find strength and purpose woven into the entirety of your lived experience, not just the highlights. It's the ultimate acceptance, yes, but an active, loving acceptance that leads to the ultimate freedom from anxiety about what might come next. Because whatever comes, you have the tool, the mindset to integrate it, affirm it, even love it as part of your ongoing becoming. It's the spirit of thriving through adversity, and maybe even because of it.
Oh, okay. We have really taken a deep dive today, haven't we, into the challenging, profound, and ultimately, I think, incredibly empowering philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. From that initial jarring wake-up call, challenging our inherited beliefs with God is dead, to unlocking our own inner creative drive with the will to power, then daring us to be truly original, to forge our own path as the Übermensch, pushing us to test the absolute authenticity of our lives with eternal recurrence. You're finally culminating in this radical resilience, this unbreakable spirit of Amor Fati.
It becomes clear, I hope, that Nietzsche isn't just some historical figure for dusty books or dry academic seminars.
No, definitely not.
He really feels like a radical, invigorating guide for anyone today who feels ready to take full ownership of their life, ready to live with more courage, ready to become who they truly are.
Not who society tells them to be, not who their family expects them to be, not who they think they should be.
But their most authentic, powerful, creative self. His ideas, even though they were forged back in the 19th century, in that time of immense upheaval, they speak so directly, so powerfully to our modern struggles with authenticity, with finding meaning, with accessing our personal power in this really complex world.
And as he might say, the world doesn't need more followers blindly conforming. The world needs you fully awake, fully engaged, fully actualized, living a life that is truly, authentically yours. A life you would joyfully choose to relive again and again.
That's the challenge.
So as you go about your week, maybe after listening to this, let's leave you with a final thought to chew on, a practical takeaway. Considering all these powerful, maybe unsettling ideas we've explored, what is one old belief you carry? Maybe about yourself, your capabilities, your career, your relationships. What's one old belief you feel ready to genuinely question, to reevaluate in your own life, starting this week?
Or maybe look at it this way. What's one struggle, one challenge you're facing right now? Could be big or small. How can you consciously choose to approach that struggle differently now? Not as an obstacle to just endure or avoid, but as a genuine opportunity. An opportunity to step into your power, to own your evolution, maybe even to embrace it with a little bit of that active, courageous Amor Fati.
Think about that. Don't just let these ideas be interesting concepts. Start to apply them, even in small ways, to your immediate reality. See what happens.